Hello everybody! I wanted to make a video to let you know my thoughts on the Xbox Series X after spending approximately 1 week with this beauty. Huge thank you to Team Xbox and Taco Bell, funny enough, for ensuring that I was on the list of people to get this ahead of time so that I could tell all of you about it. Thank you so much for that. Hashtag free product, hashtag not sponsored. Okay, now that all those disclosures are out of the way, let me talk to you about the Xbox Series X. You can see it up close and personal here. I know a lot of you have gotten chances to see it via unboxing videos and the like, but it is about 15 centimeters by 15 centimeters by 30 centimeters. So in certain pictures, I think it looks a lot bigger than it actually is, and it weighs about 10 pounds. So it's got some heft to it, but you can see when I set it here, it's not as big as a standard ATX tower. And next to me, who's Hobbit sized, it still looks relatively tiny, especially in comparison with, like I said, with a PC tower, which I think when a lot of us first saw images of this, that's what a lot of people were comparing it to. You see at the top, it's got that beautiful little green accent, and that green is within the rings. So depending which angle you look at it from, you may or may not see the green accent. As far as the specs that are built into this, a lot of us have seen them already, but just in case you missed them, there are badass specs that I will put all over the screen around me. But specs don't really translate to much unless they translate to user experience. So how does it fare in user experience? I will get to all of that in a second. First, let's go over up close and personal the ports and what kind of the outside looks like. So we have a power button just up here. We have a 4K UHD Blu-ray player just over here. Over here we have a USB 3.1 Gen 1 in the front, as well as our syncing button. Now on the sides, you'll see a lot of my fingerprints, but but no more ports or anything here on the sides. And then when we flip it to the back, I will say this fingerprints so easily. If you're someone who's a stickler for that, you're gonna have to wipe it down a lot. Although once you have this set up, you probably won't be touching it a lot, so that's a thing too. For review purposes, it gets a ton of fingerprints, so I will say that. Here on the back, you can see a couple different things. So I'm gonna hold it up just so you can see it a little better, hopefully. But on the back, there is an HDMI out. Now this is an HDMI 2.1, not a 2.0 that most of us are used to. And HDMI 2.1 is awesome because it allows things like auto low latency mode, HDMI variable refresh rate, AMD FreeSync, etc. But it unfortunately is not compatible with everything. Now HDMI 2.0 will totally work here. You just won't be able to max out at 4K 120 frames per second. The HDMI 2.1 is what really allows that. Just above that, you'll see the storage expansion slot. Now this is something that Xbox Series X is specifically doing with Seagate. So Seagate is making a 1 terabyte Seagate expansion card that allows for the same speed that you'll see in the internal storage on this, so that you would have a seamless experience whether your game data is stored on the external or the internal. Plus then you can pop that 1 terabyte storage card out and take it to a friend's if you want or something like that. So that's kind of a neat thing that they've added to the Series X. You can see here we have 2 more USB 3.1 Gen 1s that are there, and plug in for your hardwire for your Ethernet, which is awesome. If you don't want to plug in hardwire, it's got 802.11 AC dual band wireless built into this baby as well. And then your power. So that's what this looks like from the back. I'm going to set this right here. Ooh. Got my workout today with that 10 pounds, but I'm gonna set that right over there. As far as setup, this was pretty easy. So it's the first time I've ever used the Xbox mobile app to set up a console, but it was pretty standard. I could choose to copy over settings from a previous Xbox console or start completely fresh. I chose to copy over my settings, and like I said, it was pretty simple, which was great. As far as new features that are in this that I'm very excited about and that I got a chance to test out a little bit, the new velocity architecture means you're getting in and out of games and your load times are significantly faster. When comparing the Xbox One to the Xbox Series X, I'm gonna show you just a little side-by-side demo loading Halo Master Chief Collection. You can interpret the results for yourself. Now, looking at the 120 frames per second that this outputs is always interesting for me as a PC PC gamer because I'm kind of used to seeing the higher frames per second out of my games because I primarily play on PC. It was really nice to see that out of the Xbox Series X, to have that from a console experience. And really, that's what next gen is all about. As I kind of mentioned before, this has a lot to do with if you can make use of HDMI 2.1. Most gaming monitors use DisplayPort technology and not necessarily HDMI 2.1. So you really need to have a screen that can show that off via that technology, whether it be a television or a monitor, etc. I'm very fortunate to have that set up currently. So I was able to see it. I was not able to capture it to show you because the Xbox Series X only recognizes my capture card. Even though my capture card can capture 4K, it says that my capture card is not a 4K enabled display. So I wasn't able to capture it. That's something that I'm hoping once more people get hands-on with the Series X, that forum discussions will happen. And I'm hoping it's something as simple as disabling HDCP was on the PlayStation, but we'll see. So I'm sorry I couldn't show that to you, but trust me, it looks real nice. In addition to 120 frames per second, of course, the Series X also brings us ray tracing in games, which again, as a PC gamer, I'm a huge fan of my rays being traced. I love it. I think it gives games such a heightened level of realism, and I really appreciate that. So that's been pretty cool to check out. Quick Resume is a feature that I want to spend some time talking about. Quick Resume allows you to kind of pause where you are in a game, switch out of it, go back to the home screen, even go to a different game, and then when you come back to it, jump back into the game right where you were without having to reload anything, and it makes that whole process a lot faster. I think this is going to be really beneficial for households that have more than one gamer in the house that like to play different types of games and are constantly switching in and out, or if you just have to leave your console and come back later, it's nice to have saved you that time, and it's the newer technology that's enabling that to happen. As you can see here, I'm using my personal recorded footage to switch back and forth between The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt and Human Fall Flat with ease. The Xbox Series X also has HDR reconstruction, which will enhance existing standard definition games without requiring any extra work from the dev. So even any backwards compatibility games that you might be playing from Xbox, Xbox 360, Xbox One, etc. are still going to look better even if there's not a specifically Series X or Series S optimized version, which is very cool. Speaking of backwards compatibility, this is what I can now announce. All Xbox, Xbox 360, and Xbox One games playable on the Xbox One currently, minus the few that require Kinect, will be playable on the Xbox Series X and Series S and look much better at launch, which is very cool. Huge win for backwards compatibility. I'm a big fan of that. Again, as someone who primarily games on PC, I'm used to being able to play my ancient catalog with just maybe tweaking a few settings. So having that back catalog available on console, I feel like is a big win for console gamers everywhere. All right, now to the questions from you. I asked on Instagram and on Twitter what questions you'd like me to answer in this video, and you asked some, so here they are. A big one that I got over and over was, how is cooling? I mean, look at how compact this is, and we know the kind of power that's built into this, so a lot of people are understandably concerned about thermals. We know there's the fan on the top of this, sure, but what I will tell you, just a basic feel test from running two of the same game on my Xbox One and on my Xbox Series X, and then like putting a hand over each one, the Xbox Series X is noticeably cooler than the Xbox One. Also, as far as the sound, the fans in this run no louder than the fans of this PC that's currently running right here. So it kind of gives like a background room tone, but it certainly doesn't sound like my PS4 trying to run Ghost of Tsushima, which sounds like there's a rocket ship taking off in my office. So very quiet, stays pretty cool. I did some research, and part of the reason that the Xbox Series X stays so cool is because it has a split motherboard architecture, which I've never really seen or heard of before, but that enables it to stay cooler while outputting more power. All right, some of you asked me to also check out the quicker load times. Again, here I have Halo Master Chief Collection booting up on both an Xbox One and the Xbox Series X, and you can see the load time comparison for yourself. Pretty cool. Here was an interesting question I got that took me a little bit. Someone was asking for the HDMI and HDMI 2.1 versus DisplayPort technology. And if you could have a gaming monitor that say only has a DisplayPort input and get an adapter or a cable that's HDMI 2.1 to DisplayPort and still be able to get the 4K 120 frames per second. In my testing and in everything I've seen, any type of adapter will downgrade. Any type of conversion will downgrade. So I haven't seen a cable or adapter yet that has been able to do that at full fidelity successfully yet, but that doesn't mean that one might not come out in the future. Right now, I think the biggest struggle for a lot of people is going to be finding a 4K enabled display, whether it's your gaming monitor or your television that has HDMI 2.1 input. Most of the world is still on HDMI 2.0. The Xbox Series X does come with its own HDMI 2.1, so as far as securing the cable, you have the cable. It's just a matter of upgrading everything else to really maximize that. Now, if you don't have everything else upgraded to maximize that, that's okay. You'll still be able to get a beautiful experience. You're just not going to get that full 4K 120 frames per second that the Xbox Series X is capable of. Now, let's talk about controllers. Another question someone asked me was about controller compatibility. I tested out my Wonder Woman 1984 controller with this baby and it worked great. So Xbox One, Xbox Adaptive controllers, and the Elite Series controllers will all work with the next gen of Xbox Series X, which is awesome. And speaking of the controller, let's go ahead and talk about this beauty. And you can see here it has a really nice matte finish on the front, and I like the new D-pad. It feels nice in the hand when you are playing with it. So that's a cool upgrade, I think. Now, there's the matte finish on the front, and on the back, I hope you'll be able to see this in my close-up, but on the back here, there's a very, very slight texturizing and grip on the back, as well as on the triggers. And it feels really, really nice in the hand. Another thing that's new on this controller is the share button. Whoop. You can see the share button there. The share button allows you to take clips and instantly share them to social. This is not something I will use as much because I will probably use my streaming setup to do that. But for anyone else, I think this is gonna be really cool. Or if I'm just playing casually and happen to have like a real great moment when I'm not streaming and wanna share that, I can now do that a lot more easily, which is nice. This controller will also work with your Xbox One. It works with Windows 10, and it works with Android or iOS if you're accessing any of your Game Pass games on the go, for example. And it has new tech that's built in to make pairing easier and also reduce latency while you're gaming. The Series X will actually check in with your controller for input more frequently so that you have that faster reaction time, which is cool. I have been using it playing with AA batteries. You can use those, or you can use rechargeable batteries, and for that there is a USB-C right up here. Here it is. For that, there's a USB-C if you do want to use rechargeable. And the good news about this new controller is that it is backwards compatible with most controller accessories that you might already have, like chat pad, etc. However, there are some docks due to the shape in the outer size that may not fit exactly, but most everything else should work all right. So that is the new Xbox controller. Just some bonus stuff I want to mention before wrapping this up. Game Pass is adding EA Play. So the entire EA Play library, like Battlefront 2, Titanfall 2, FIFA, Battlefield, Sims, Mass Effect, etc. That is all coming on November 10th on launch day, which I already thought that Game Pass was the best deal in gaming, and I think I'm paid up through like 2022 on my Game Pass membership because you can stack up to 36 months, which in my opinion, I think they have to raise the price of Game Pass, so I'm trying to get out as much as I can ahead of time right now while the getting's good. It's $10 a month for regular Game Pass or Game Pass for PC, and $14.99 a month for Game Pass Ultimate, which allows you to play across a variety of different devices. But it includes your Xbox Live Gold and the discounts that you would get with Gold, free games with Gold, all that kind of stuff. But now with the addition of EA Play, I just think it's an even better deal. So that's a bonus. Also, Xbox Series X and Series S have something called Smart Delivery, which you may have already heard of, but just in case you didn't, Smart Delivery means that you only have to buy a game once, and then if you upgrade your console, you will automatically automatically get the upgraded and optimized version of the game for your new console. So buy the game once, play it on whatever hardware, which is really nice. That was my experience so far and kind of first impressions with the Xbox Series X. Again, a huge thank you to Team Xbox and the Taco Bell team for working together and enabling a lot more reviewers and gamers and streamers to get hands-on with this console before it goes live. I appreciate you. Thank you so much for that. I've appreciated the advanced kind of preview on this and sharing it with you guys. My next step is to hit up those Elgato forums once this is out in the wild to kind of see how to optimize Elgato, my streaming software, and if there's any settings I need to tweak on the Series X so that I can capture the Series X in 4K 120 frames per second and potentially stream that out. Fingers crossed that that's a relatively simple thing to do, but it's funny being in an embargo period because I can't go to the internet or friends for help, and normally that's what we do. We're all a big hive mind. So I will update you on that as soon as I get it. But yes, thank you to you all so much for watching. Let me know in the comments if you think you are going to upgrade to the next gen Xbox, whether it be the Series X, the Series S, if you're getting a next gen console as the PS5 perhaps, or if you're primarily PC and sticking PC. How do you like to game? Let me know that in the comments, and thank you all so much for watching. All right, see you soon. Bye.